Engine number 11 whistled out of Elizabethton, Tennessee. The melancholy of a last run darkened the glory of a warm, bright Appalachian morning. As the tiny Baldwin 10-wheeler retraced the route traveled so many times before, she was turning the last page in the history of narrow-gauge railroading in the Blue Ridge. She was leaving behind a legacy of service to her neighbors, to whom she was a part of the family, a trusting and reliable link to the outside. Tears would mark the passing of the beloved narrow gauge. But our purpose here is not to mourn, but to shake the grates in the firebox of our memories, to watch the phoenix arise from the ashes. Yes, in these remarkable films, we stir the reflections and echoes of the long-vanished trains in Doe River Gorge, on State Line Hill, and the lush valleys into Cranberry. The East Tennessee and Western North Carolina, a long name for a short road, ran from Johnson City, Tennessee to Cranberry, North Carolina. It was chartered and constructed to 3-foot gauge in the early 1880s to haul high-grade iron ore from the mines at Cranberry to interchanges with the trunk lines at Johnson City. The line ran northeast to Elizabethton, later to become the business center to sustain the ET&WNC when the narrow gauge became unprofitable. A third rail to standard gauge was added on this segment in the early years of this century, which operates to this day as the East Tennessee Railroad. The Tweetsie enjoyed a resurgence of sorts during the Second World War, but was just hanging on when these films were shot. With little time left, let's go back to the final years of the East Tennessee and Western North Carolina Railroad. The wartime traffic is a thing of the distant past. The narrow gauge is losing money, and the end is now but a year away. Only standard gauge locomotives run to Johnson City, so a new engine house has been built at Elizabethton. Engine number 11 takes coal, while number 12 waits for a call. The Baldwin veteran enters stage left through a curtain of steam at the Elizabethton yard. The string of 37-foot boxcars proceeds between the Doe River Gorge and Roan Mountain. The Tennessee autumn foliage is slowly tinting. There are always waves from the friendly crews. This is O'Brien Crossing at Valley Forge. Just above Tunnel 1. At Blevins, the engine works hard upgrade. Despite the isolated appearance, the ET was usually not far from a highway. The locomotive looks better than ever. This beautiful scene is now the site of a prison. As the train gains altitude at Crabtree, the fall colors are deepening. Entering the town of Roan Mountain. Stopping in front of Roan Mountain Depot, the crew cuts a couple of cars for set-out. Note that boxcar 443 is sheathed with aluminum siding. The work done, number 11 proceeds from Roan Mountain southeast toward Shell Creek. Out of Shell Creek, the crew gets a running start for the climb up State Line Hill. The Baldwin barks, pulling hard against gravity. We're still climbing. We approach and pass Wilcoxville and crossing. She'll be coming round the mountain. The struggle continues at Greerville. Isn't this beautiful? The train has just crossed into North Carolina. The fireman gets a break, and his efforts are apparent as the pops quickly lift. The crew gets another moment in the sun. The train curves into Elk Park. The crew normally took lunch at the depot. Today is no exception. From the top of a boxcar, we wend our way through the beautiful Blue Ridge scenery en route to Cranberry. At Cranberry Upper Yard, the crew cuts 3 cars and pulls ahead to spot them. The engine returns and ties onto our car, then kicks us into the clear on the siding. The fireman replenishes the tender. The engine completes its runaround and ties onto the opposite end of the cut, then backs out of the siding. The cameraman is still on the roof as the train backtracks through Elk Park. Even the Tweetsie wouldn't let a fan with a camera ride on a steam locomotive pilot. But with the tender out front, we can get an unobstructed view as the train continues its tricky run down State Line Hill. Then Shell Creek and Shell Creek Bridge. The train has picked up more cars. This is at Coal Chute at Valley Forge on the Elizabethton side of the gorge. The run is over. The engine has dropped the cars and is positioned next to the coal chute. At Elizabethton, numbers 11 and 12 await assignment. After the war, engines were coaled at Elizabethton using a conveyor. The coal was hauled in by the railroad from Johnson City in standard gauge hoppers. The narrow gauge rail had been removed. Venerable Linville River postal car number 18 languishes in the background. It was built by Jackson and Sharp in 1921 as part of the finest all-vestibule narrow gauge passenger train, which included a parlor car. This is one of number 12's last runs. She did not operate after October of 1949. The train crosses the Valley Forge Trestle spanning the Doe River between Elizabethton and Hampton. Then she crosses the deck bridge into tunnel number 1, which was built to standard gauge dimensions. Dual gauge extended into Hampton to serve a Ritter sawmill on the Little Doe River. The train of gondolas ducks through the covered bridge at Hampton, Tennessee. Between Crabtree and Roan Mountain, the short train crosses a road. To the right today stands a Baptist church. The train plows through the weeds as it enters Roan Mountain. Blasting through Shell Creek, the train builds momentum for the climb up State Line Hill. This is another 1949 run. Number 11 is just a little unkempt at Valley Forge Trestle. In Hampton, the train crosses the covered bridge. As the narrow gauge nears its end, the lush foliage gradually closes in on the right-of-way. We love this scene as the locomotive rocks and rolls through White Rock. Passing the Roan Mountain Depot. This distant view shows the train climbing State Line Hill. Note that the train's forward speed exactly matches the wind speed as the smoke plume moves with the locomotive. Motor car number 1 lies in the clear at Elk Park to allow the train to pass. By this time in 1949, there was little work at Cranberry. There was little work at all left for the narrow gauge. In another year, the last run would be made. There are more than memories left, however. The quaint little narrow gauge still lives in the hearts of many who never witnessed her in action. A true national treasure, Locomotive number 12 continues to operate on the Tweetsie Railroad in Blowing Rock, North Carolina. Freight is still hauled by the East Tennessee Railroad on the last 8 miles between Johnson City and Elizabethton.